Talk, talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. And our guest today is someone from Deaf Community Services. She's the literacy instructor for the literacy program at Deaf Community Services. And accommodating the both of us in this interview is our translator, is American Sign Language translator, so we appreciate the help. I forgot to ask you your name.
Jennifer.
This is Jennifer. And we're going to learn just firsthand how Deaf Community Services is addressing the challenge of literacy within the deaf community with deaf students and individuals who are hard of hearing. Thao, Pham, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Oh, well, welcome. And the first question I want to ask is just about you, how you came to be in the position that you are, maybe a little bit about your school history and how you become the literacy instructor. I'm not sure how much help you have, but you are the literacy instructor at Deaf Community Services in San Diego.
That's correct, yes. I am the deaf instructor. We actually have another instructor as well. There's two of us on staff at DCS. And we have a literacy program. I can tell you a brief story about my background. I'm not from the United States. I was born in another country. So English isn't my first language. My primary language wasn't sign language either. When I moved here, I was really young, and I started acquiring language pretty quickly. I was in school, but because I was from another country, I was lagging behind. I ended up going through school and got my bachelor's degree, and I've had a lot of accomplishments, but a lot of communication barriers along the way. It just means that I had to study harder, and I became the literacy instructor by volunteering at Deaf Community Services. I was a volunteer there for 2 years. I took different odd jobs around the office, and now teaching is my field, and I love it.
Very good. I have to ask, there's American Sign Language, and is there a different sign language in your native tongue?
Yes, there is. Yeah, actually, sign languages are different, varied by their country. American Sign Language is only used here in the United States, but I was born in Vietnam, and Vietnam has their own language, their own signed system. So if I were to sign, for example, here in American Sign Language, what is your name in Vietnamese, it wouldn't translate. So the gestures and the signs are completely different. They're not universal. It's not a universal language, which is a common misconception.
So it's fair to say that you know 4 languages.
No, I know a little bit of Vietnamese, but I haven't kept up with it. So if you don't use it, you lose it. I'm fluent in American Sign Language, English, and a little bit of Japanese Sign Language, and I do know Mexican Sign Language, Lenguas de Señas Mexicanas. Yeah, so I know a little bit about them.
Very good, very good. And tell us, that's great introduction. Tell us about the work of Deaf Community Services. I know they do, in San Diego, they do a variety of things, the literacy program being one of the services. But overall, what does the agency do? And then we'll get into the specifics of the literacy program.
So Deaf Community Services have a lot of different programs. We have 7 different departments, but really 6 different services. So we have behavioral health services, counseling and whatnot, interpreting services, Team and Changes program. We have a youth and family services program. And we have a variety of different programs, but really great is the new program is called Team and Changes. And it's great that we have this program because if a deaf and hard of hearing person has language barriers or aren't able to communicate within their community with hearing people, then the Team and Changes will help them acquire full access to different different items in their life. For example, things that we don't think of as normal, you wouldn't have normal accessibility, like your SDG&E bill or your phone bill. So they are the ones that provide that accommodation and give full access and communication to that. We also have my literacy department. We're the only about 5 to 7% of people who come in have a language. Most of the people that come in don't have any language. They either have they know their foreign language, and they probably don't even know their home sign language. So we offer sign language classes. So if they're wanting to learn ASL, they have to know ASL before they can start the program. So we offer the American Sign Language classes for them so that they can acquire language, and then from there they can join the literacy program to learn and develop English. Deaf Community Services, the literacy program was founded by Tom Galley. And I believe that was in 1999 that the department opened. And one of the clients showed up at Deaf Community Services having no literacy skills whatsoever. Really frustrated. He wanted somebody to teach him. He wanted a class where he could learn in his language. And so from there, it kind of led Deaf Community Services, the agency, to establish the new program, the literacy program, because they realized he wasn't alone. And so that's kind of how we started.
That's the start of things, yes. This brings up another question, and you can. I hope you have the answer, because it might be a little bit of research involved, and that is when I thought of Deaf Community Services, I thought of a place where people would go in general because they were deaf or hard of hearing, but you're only seeing a small percentage of the folks who live in the region who are deaf.
Yeah, so the deaf community is larger than you think. Although we're a big, we're a small community, everybody knows each other, but Deaf Community Services does have a lot of clients, and we do advertise to the community. But it's interesting of how people identify themselves. They might not want to identify themselves as deaf or hard of hearing. And there's a lot of refugees who are coming from other countries like Iraq and the Middle East, who are not necessarily out in the community. And so what we're trying to do is encourage them to really join us, and it's bigger than you think. So DCS is we provide services all over San Diego County. So we are a big city. We have Oceanside all the way down to the Mexican border, and all the way out to Imperial County. So it's a pretty big region.
Do you have more than one office in San Diego County? Because I just know about the Mission Valley location.
Yes, actually, we have two offices. We just opened a Vista office, and then the Deaf Community Headquarters, which you mentioned, is in Mission Valley. They're wanting to expand more, but for now, we just have the two offices.
Is it accurate to say that most individuals who are born deaf or hard of hearing are getting services from a school, another location?
Yeah, I would say probably that's where it starts. I'm not familiar with the exact services that they might receive in their K through 12 setting, but we have the Deaf Community Services has different services for people. I myself went to Lafayette Elementary School here in San Diego, and that's where I learned sign language. So yeah, you could say that's where they begin their services. After I graduated from high school, those services were suspended, and so I had to find out on my own how to go about getting these resources, and so that's where DCS comes in.
And are these services readily available? Are they hard to find?
Which ones?
Just for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Yeah, I would say DCS is the main source. You would just walk into the front lobby, and if you need anything, they'll be able to assist you.
Okay.
We have a client support service department that supports it, like advocacy and that kind of thing. And then we also have counseling services and the literacy program, of course. So when you walk in, you tell them what you need, and we're able to service it.
And mostly you're helping adults. That's who's coming through the door. That's your primary age group population?
No, actually, we service both children and adults.
Okay.
Yeah, DCS provides the sign language classes for children and for families as well.
Very good. Very good.
DCS provides youth literacy camp as well for children ages, I believe, 8 to, I'm not exactly sure of the ages, but 8 to 16, I believe, is a literacy camp that they offer to children.
Real good. And do you have that whole complex in Mission Valley? I remember being at the grand opening a few years ago, and it was quite exciting to see the.
Yeah, we're still in the same place. Yeah.
All righty, very good. Well, I do want to get into the specifics of the literacy program, but I felt especially because there's a lot of things we don't know about the deaf community and who's being served and how services are being provided. So I did want to start with that opening, and we're going to come into the next segment and talk a bit more about the literacy program itself and just really how people, when they are walking in the door, what are they coming in for, and how do they walk that path to the literacy program. So maybe some folks are coming in because they need to learn American Sign Language, or they're coming in for a different purpose, and then they end up in the literacy program. So we'll come back to that and get some more specifics, because I know our listeners are wanting to know.
Great.
Yeah, so we'll be back just from break. I don't know if you noticed how that the time passes rather quickly in the segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be in segment 2 before we know it, and just looking forward to getting more details from you on the program services. Anyway, you've been listening to the Literacy for All radio show. We're on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk, and we'll be right back.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant the Series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children, because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. We're talking to Thao Pham. She is the literacy instructor at Deaf Community Services in San Diego County, and learning a bit more about a service delivery population that we don't know a whole lot about. So, Thao, I'll ask you, just when people come to Deaf Community Services, why are they usually coming in? How do they end up in the literacy program?
Really, most people need help with employment-related services or counseling services, and literacy is another one of the bigger needs that they need. And they also need the sign language basis. So parents will take the sign language classes, and then we have they're trying to get services for their youth, for their children, for deaf youth. The advocate services and the employment services are probably I would say, the most common needs. And as far as getting into the literacy program, they would need to take a placement exam. That way we assess their skills to figure out where they are with their literacy skills and what level they are. If they're below 7th grade level, then that's the students that we usually take. So if they're above 7th or 8th grade, then they would be capable of going into a class through the community college. So
Very good. We know that oral language, or just language, words are the foundation for literacy. But you're working with a population that might not have any words in their consciousness. Is that a good description of some of the folks that you're serving? Because they don't hear, and they haven't been taught, maybe just really speaking very basically in their own, the sign language that a lot of us will do, what we think is sign language, to communicate.
that's correct. Yeah, most of them have a difficult time reading print in like English text because sign language is a visual language. We don't have a written form, and so they've spent their whole life without the sound or audio input. So they've acquired language later in life, making it difficult. I can give you an example. If a child were 5 years old, as opposed to a person who is 25 years old, at 5 years old, their brain is like a sponge. They're able to absorb a lot of information. So it's easier to acquire language at that age. But at the age of 25, it becomes much more difficult. It has a different syntax. So English has a different syntax than does ASL. American Sign Language, we don't use articles like the, is. We don't use those verbs or specifying verbs. ASL doesn't offer those in our system. So in the deaf community, when you use American Sign Language, it's more iconic, more active, more gestures. Whereas the foundation has to be, giving literacy in English is suited more for auditorial-based spoken language. So a deaf person relies heavily on gestures, and teaching the articles like the and is are difficult in the language.
Very complicated, right? In my thinking, I'm not even sure what question to ask, because we, as people who hear, know words from hearing them and saying them, and with individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing, they don't know words the way that we know them. They know sign language and the meaning that is associated with the sign language gestures or symbols. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, deaf individuals require to have, like if we're teaching literacy, we use a lot of pictures, and then we put the text or the print underneath it so that they can associate the picture with the word. So if you're not able to hear the word, like for example, the word spoon, they know the word is, or they know what a spoon is, but being able to pronounce it, they wouldn't ever be able to, like, trying to even pronounce it. That's not the approach for literacy. They, again, seeing it, their eyes are really the key to their success in learning. So because if your hearing is gone, then, or if you've ever lost one of your senses, then another one of your senses usually takes on.
Sure.
So you'll see great improvement, and you'll see faster learning with being able to learn literacy. People who have not come from a background of signed language, but given a more oral method, have a little bit harder of a time learning. So, but giving them structure with gestures is much easier.
Very good. Following up on that question, I'm making notes here. There's so much in my mind right now. Is there's a difference between, big difference really, between the word spoon in sign language and the word spoon on a piece of paper. And you and I had talked before the show, and you said that you didn't teach phonics. So how do you make that leap from American Sign Language into print?
Yeah, ASL actually is a beautiful language. It's very visually cued. It's almost like poetic. It's a self-expression. You can sign whatever you want. You can, I love you, you love me, and it's very directional too. You can't mix up the words. You can't. The structure is very rigid. You have to follow the rules of sign language, and so English is really much more rigid than ASL is, and so it's kind of like if you were to play the piano. You can play whatever notes you want, but it won't come out the same. You can't say you hey. Whereas in ASL, you would be able to say you hey, but you wanted to say hey you. So it's more of a form of expression. You want to make sure that you're answering the questions, and so teaching them the structure of English and then the rigidness of it is difficult. Like for example, if you need food or you need spoon, they will understand much quicker. So if the parent is talking to them, hey, you need to get the spoon, a deaf person won't understand that at all. It's not possible.
See, there's a whole translation going on there that's helping me understand. The question follow up again is, so now you know American Sign Language, you know the structure and the rules and such. Well, now you're in because Thao, I know that you can read your notes in front of you. So how did you go from, or how would anybody go from American Sign Language to the printed word?
So growing up, I failed English a lot when I got really bad grades. But I acquired my English skills by reading a lot of books. My parents forced me to read books. I would say I had a bookshelf full of books, and they forced me to read them all. And then in college, your all school is based in textbooks, so I read throughout college as well. But what was really helpful for me, and what's helpful for other deaf people, are dictionaries with pictures. So if you just give a person a dictionary who doesn't have English or doesn't have the pictures with it, it's more difficult to understand what the words mean. So I that's how I taught myself. I really improved my English skills by learning sign language first. And then that gave me the foundation to learn. So I knew the sign, and then I would be able to associate it with the print, the text. And that's how I started my foundation. And then I started learning English grammars and the rules, and kind of trying to visualize it in. And I was trying to figure out why English had such strict, rigid rules. And it's kind of like a piece of a puzzle that fit together perfectly. And after I understood that, then I was able to fully understand English. It's kind of like a game. To me, anyways.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, and I mean that leads to my next question, which is for the average person walking in the door who they're learning American Sign Language, and then of course moving on to print. Is it difficult? Is it a game? Do many struggle and not learn? Do they give up? And I mean, you probably see the same things we see in the literacy programs that we participate in.
Yeah, absolutely. As a literacy instructor, I've been teaching for 5 years, and I've seen a lot of people have a lot of challenges when they come into class. If they have no language whatsoever, then we have to give them some sort of foundation. So they take a sign language class, and they use a lot of pictures in that as well. And I encourage them to study the picture with the word and the sign, or the sign with the word as well. That leads to English grammar rules, and that leads to memorizing the concept of having everyday life, everyday conversation. So I need your help. Where is the bathroom? Being able to formulate those sentences, or do you need a ride instead of ride give me, which would be ASL. And then later, once they've acquired that and they've learned the rules, I highly encourage reading. Reading is a really important tool. Because once they read the books that they have, they see like one sentence, they have to look, find the verb in the sentence, where's the noun, and then you have to teach them what a noun is, what a verb is, before they're even able to read that sentence.
This is the whole nuts and bolts. I'm going to stop her right now, and just because we're going to go on a break, but this is the good stuff, and I'm sorry we're having to go to break, but we will come back, and then we'll talk about success rates and actually the kinds of materials that you use, okay? So we'll be back with Thao, Pham, and Deaf Community Services. I'm Jose Cruz. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Hey, it's Catherine from Listen Local Radio. Moe's Guitars has proudly served the San Diego music community since 1975. Specializing in guitars, basses, mandolins, banjos, and ukuleles, they buy, sell, trade, and consign. If you're looking for lessons, repairs, accessories, and cool gear, you found the right place. Located in downtown La Mesa Village, stop by and check out their digs or visit moesguitars.com or their Facebook page. MOZEguitars.com, 619-698-1185.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. MCAULIFFE. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com. Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com. Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulliFfe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. We've been talking to one of the literacy instructors at Deaf Community Services in San Diego County, Thao, Pham, and she's doing a great job of explaining a rather complex process to us, how you're teaching reading, as in essence, to a deaf or hard of hearing population. And before I go any further, we're learning, and somebody had advised me, do not use the terminology hearing impaired, which I thought was politically correct. And so what I've come to learn is it's deaf and hard of hearing. So that's just one of the things I want to push forward out there, so that we're using the right terminology. Thao, just a little bit more about anything you want to add to the whole process of teaching reading to the individuals who come to the Literacy Center at Deaf Community Services. Just things about the process, yeah.
Yeah, so really it depends. There's a variety of different ways that you can help them improve their reading skills. Primary source would be using pictures and sign language, and then encouraging them or forcing them to write on the board, giving them homework, like trying to find out, what did you do over the weekend? And then every week having them write down what they did. Or we'll take information from books, like take a paragraph from a book, and we'll sign what it says. We sign every word in the paragraph into American Sign Language, and then we basically take it and translate it from English into American Sign Language. So it gives it a more visual reference, so they can see the English word as a signed word. So it's 2 different ways. So we do the English version, and then we have the ASL version, and then we get 2 completely different pictures of the text.
Now I'm starting to see. During the break, I asked you about your ability to read, and I asked you if you used phonics, and you said no, that your phonics was for when you were speaking, or at least, how do I say it? Not speaking so much, but reading. I don't know. Do you read lips?
I took a class when I was younger. When I was a kid, I was in a speech therapy class, but I stopped. So that they were able, the class was basically there to help me communicate with the hearing community. So I'm able to lip read, but I would say it's probably only about 10% accuracy. So I might know little things. I might be able to catch your name or get where the bathroom is, but complex sentences or sentences that go on and on, I'm not able to understand. I would have to ask you to write it down, whatever the communication you're trying to meet. Right. But as far as not all deaf and hard of hearing individuals are able to lip read. It's more for people who have a more residual hearing that are hard of hearing, like phonics and sign language are completely different.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so back to a very important question, and that is individuals who are reading text, they're reading it, they're reading the words as they are connected to American Sign Language, as they're associated with American Sign Language.
That's correct.
Okay.
So when you see a deaf person reading, you might notice that they might sign to themselves to help them understand the concept.
Oh my.
Same as a hearing person, like if they don't understand what that word is, they'll try to pronounce it.
Mhm.
That's a similar concept in deaf community. They'll try to sign it so that they can understand what the meaning of the word or the meaning of the text is.
Okay. If you're a listener out there, if you're like me, the light just went on. I see it. And that's, again, something that we don't have a lot of experience in. So that's good to know how this is happening. I'm going to go back about 15, 20 years where I was contacted by Deaf Community Services in San Diego. They had an office in Mission Valley. Then they moved to another location and came back Mission Valley. But they were asking us about help in finding and purchasing special materials to assist deaf, hard of hearing individuals with learning how to read. Are the materials that special? And do you have a lot of them? And do you need more?
Yeah, we definitely need more. We're always looking for new sources and new material. But we use the Oxford Picture Dictionary.
Oh, we use it too, right?
Yeah, so we use that a lot. I've been using Ventures reading and writing textbooks for a really long time. And also we use Quartum right now, the Longman Dictionary. It's not very complicated. It's not like the more complicated or complex dictionaries. It's more broken down. Deaf individuals, if they see text and it's too complicated, then they'll kind of give up or they won't use it. We also use iPads and laptops and visual aids, posters. We have, for example, we have a world map. That's in American Sign Language in the alphabet, in the American Sign Language alphabet.
Very good. Well, let's along the lines of materials. How is technology playing a role? How is that impactful as a resource or just a way to get through day-to-day living?
Yeah, so we utilize laptops and iPads, and that helps them a lot. So they can type it in their job profile. So they have they can keep their resumes and stuff for future job placement. We have a website that we use. It's edmondo.com, and they use it to teach different resources. So if I type a question, like, what did you do last weekend? The students can reply. They can type their response. And so that's one of the websites that we use. It's good. It's like they use it for polling. So you can ask, this is the question, and then they get to pick their answer as A, B, C, or D. So that's kind of how we use it in the classroom. Also, the Ventures books, they have their games, the arcade that they have. So that requires a laptop to be able to access that. So we use that in our classroom as well. And then online, they have different websites for ASL dictionaries as well. So you can look it up by the English word and then find the ASL sign for it.
So is there anything online at a website where a person who is deaf or hard of hearing would read not words but sign language? Can you read sign language? Like, can you read the gestures as a way of communicating?
They have a program. It's called, I know they've got a couple of different programs, but Sign Savvy. And then they have, there's a variety of different resources, but it's basically a sign language dictionary. So if you don't know what the word means, you can type it in English, and then a person pops up on the screen, and they'll sign the word into American Sign Language. So they use that when they're doing their homework.
Okay.
So they'll come to class, and they have already researched. They know what the meaning of words are based on using those dictionaries, those ASL dictionaries. Yeah, that
Very
helps a
good.
lot.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it's just a whole different stream of resources out there. Tell us about your rate of success. Do you lose a lot of students? Do a lot of people give up? A lot of them, they really work hard on this and they stay on it and they get to the point of fluency like you.
I would actually have to look at my literacy department statistics. From what I remember, 60%, we have a 60% graduation rate from the program. I'm not exactly sure, but about 20% drop out.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah, I
That's a
would say
good
about
number.
60%, yeah. The other 30%, maybe they've gone off to get a job,
Mhm,
or
mhm.
I'd have to look exactly
Okay.
out online to see the statistics.
Okay, so employment is a big motivation, and so that's one of the ways that one of the reasons why people will get into the literacy program and such. So.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
And DCS does provide full access. We provide the employment services, employment placement services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then so that's the two services partner together to help get individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing full access. We also provide interpreting services so that when they go on job interviews, it's kind of a one-stop shop.
Sure. So one motivation is to keep people in the program so that they are learning to read. There's possibly a job waiting for you when you're done?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, very good. It's good to have that in-house, and just know that it's leading to something. It's responding to some of the the needs that we all have, right? That we all want to work, and I know that there are certain challenges in that there aren't, maybe you would agree, not a lot of accommodations out there for in the general public for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I would.
You're so
agree.
nice, Thao. That's
Yeah, I'm not really quite sure how to answer the question, but from my own experience in the past, when I was, I hadn't had a job, I was applying and looking for a job. I want to say that I had applied at 200 different job applications, and they all declined me because they knew I knew sign language, and they didn't know how to how to help me or how to communicate with me, and I didn't have an education. So I think that I'm a little bit better because now businesses are now more required to follow the Americans with Disability Act.
Okay.
And so that's why we have the employment services, and that's why DCS provides that.
very good. Okay, we're going to our last break, and then we'll get to the things that we didn't get to. So really appreciate all of this information. We'll be back with Pham, Deaf Community Services of San Diego. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days?
What's that mean? Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat. Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Too much to do? Not enough time to get it done? Call on the experts at Another 8 Hours for your business support needs. By partnering with Another 8 Hours, we allow you to focus on the more important matters, like being in front of your clients, doing what you do best, rather than being stuck at a desk poring over paperwork, rummaging through emails, returning phone calls, and struggling to get everything done by yourself. Meanwhile, your family and social life are going down the drain. Go to another8hours.com or call 8 more hours. That's 866-734-6877.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. This is our fourth segment with Deaf Community Services of San Diego County. And yes, you're on the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. We've been talking to Thao Pham, and she's one of the literacy instructors at Deaf Community Services. We've been the beneficiaries of a lot of really good information. I have a follow-up question, not relating to reading, but relating to writing, and how, and maybe it's the same thing, that when students write, they are writing from a American Sign Language perspective. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be correct. Typically, they learn the language. It's just like you were to learn any language. American Sign Language and English foundations are different.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that foundation of American Sign Language.
Mhm.
What they're missing is the structure of grammar and the rules. So they have to learn the rules first,
Mhm.
and then they realize, maybe they've put the words in the wrong order, or they've used the wrong tense, or whatever it may be. So that's how they develop the skills later.
And then, because there has to be so much practice involved in learning American Sign Language, and again, leaping to print. Who do your students practice with after they leave the center? How many hours do they spend with you a day, and then how do they get practice so that they are immersed as much as possible in American Sign Language and in print, and retaining what you're teaching them?
Yeah, unfortunately, in class, they have the benefit of having other people who know their language, and they make friends within the program. After they leave our program, they don't have anybody that they can communicate with, so they do miss that language. Maybe their family is all hearing and nobody knows sign language.
Mhm.
Nobody is able to communicate with them. So it forces them to practice. They have to make friends and reach out to them. Because if you don't have friends or anybody to communicate with, how are you going to learn?
Mhm.
Especially a foreign language. If you're same concept. If you're learning a foreign language, if you don't know anybody who speaks the same language as you, you're not going to learn as fast, or you're not going to learn as quickly. So it's really important that you have
Mhm.
somebody else who knows your language.
Now, occasionally I'll drive through certain places, like Tierra Santa, I think, has their signs up, and it says deaf children, pretty much caution signs. Are there deaf neighborhoods or just places where people will move to because there are more children or adults who know American Sign Language who can communicate with each other?
I understand. Yeah, no, the sign might be old too. If you're
Oh,
saying
okay.
it, they might have just established the signs, but they might also have a couple of children in the area,
Oh.
or they don't really keep up with those signs. So a lot of
Mhm.
times the signs are old. Yeah, it just depends on the situation. But no, there's no like neighborhood for deaf people.
Okay.
Yeah. I always wonder where the deaf children are.
Mhm.
That sign does come up, but you wonder where maybe that child's already raised.
Yeah,
But
because that sign gives you the wrong impression. I mean, I just assumed, okay, here's a place where, people can be together. I remember, for a lot of us, it just doesn't happen. But I've gone to a couple of deaf community services events, to the open house at the place in Mission Valley, and also at some event. It was actually out at near Scripps in La Jolla. And it's quite interesting being the only person who doesn't know sign language in a room with about 60 or 70 other people who are communicating, having a good time and such. And it was just kind of, I think about accommodations and how I was a person who was on the outside. And so I'd like to see us have more sensitivity to, what's taking place with folks and such. So, and I'm so glad for the work that you're doing that helps connect people to language and to print.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
And so, share maybe your favorite success story of a student who came in and asked for help.
I would have to think about it. My boss, his name is Oscar. He knows one person. He should have been the one that came.
Yeah,
to
no,
tell
not
you the
at all.
story.
I mean, Oscar would have been great too, but we were
Yeah.
enjoying you.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure who their instructor was, but Oscar had informed me that.
Let me change the question.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
Tell me about how rewarding your job is to you.
My job is really rewarding. My reward is seeing the students come in not having language and learning English. It's really empowering for them. That's really my reward. That's what I like at the end of the day.
Very good. Tell us, people want to know more, and so we're definitely going to get this link out so more people can hear the show. And I have a feeling it's going to be pretty popular. And of course, we have the video. How can people get in touch with you to learn more about what's happening at Deaf Community Services?
They can look on our website. The website is deafcommunityservices.org. So it's services with an S because we have multiple services.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see the links to our program. And at the very bottom, there is a phone number you can call to reach out to our front desk. If you're trying to learn more about interpreting services or employment services, the person who answers that phone will be able to direct you to the right department.
Very good. Now, how can people in the community, look, all of our literacy programs need help. And we're so happy here in San Diego to have the Deaf Community Services Literacy Program in our network of affiliated programs. We just like having the diversity and just seeing that, there are special populations that are being served. What are ways that people can contribute to the work that you're doing if they wanted to help out?
Who would those people be, for example?
Oh, to say volunteers or donors, or what are the things? What's your wish list?
Oh, I see. My literacy department, the whole program, is funded by the Department of Rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need funding
Mhm.
for their own literacy program as
Mhm.
well. So donations. If you
I
have
know that's
materials,
an Oscar question. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Training, as far as my students are concerned, giving them opportunities. So if you know of opportunities where they can go out on field trips,
Mhm.
if you have technology like
Mhm.
equipment that
Mhm.
you can donate, any sort of materials, then reach out to us. That would be a great help.
Very good. We have about 1 minute left. Any last words?
No, just reach out to us online if you're interested in donating to Deaf Community Services. You can do that online as well.
Very good, very good. So glad to have you, Thao Pham. She's a literacy instructor at Deaf Community Services. here in San Diego County, and just a real joy, and so glad to learn about the ways that your agency is addressing the needs of this population. I think anyone who's listening has learned a lot and learned about my Spanish is not even that good, so so I know English and I know Spanish in a functional way, but just thinking about the language challenges that your target population has to address. So we really appreciate your work, and maybe we can have you back for an interview at another time, or Oscar, right? Come back and join us again.
I hope so. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Very good. Thank you for being on the show, Jennifer. Right? That's correct. Is Jennifer? Okay, got your name right. Thank you for your help. You've been listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in internet talk, and continue to listen. Let's see, I think this is our last show for this year, right? Okay, so we'll be back in 2020. The best to everyone. Happy holidays.